Good afternoon and welcome to The Counselor Live, and I am your host, Sheldon Stovall. I'm excited to be back here once again today. I would love for you guys to be a part of our conversation each day. I'm starting to get quite a few subscribers, so thank you guys. But more importantly, I want you guys to start becoming more a part of the conversation. So you can contact me at promo@thecounselor.live. That's via email, or you can go to our website and the phone number is listed on our website. All right, so today we are talking about child support and a lot of things that men want to say but cannot say for whatever reasons. We're going to be doing this for a couple weeks, so I have quite a few people back on my calendar, so I just want to encourage you guys, if there is something that you would like to say, you are totally anonymous. And you can say what you want to say and help us understand this upsetness that we have when it comes to dealing with child support. All right, so we're going to start out the show a little different. We got quite a few emails and texts just of people just mentioning things and asking questions, especially some of our younger guys, 19 years old, and already starting to have to owe for child support. So this thing gets deep. So 10 things that you should know about child support. Number one, although men are most frequently the providers of child support, 15% of all people who pay child support are women. So guys, I do want you to not stay silent. I want you guys to speak up, and those you women who are also paying, please speak up. Like, we would like to hear. There's so many young people that make so many mistakes. There's so many people who, and we'll go over some of these things, make simple mistakes like not keeping receipts. If you are ordered to pay child support, and we'll just say if it's a female, and you're paying money to your spouse or whichever it is, male or female, always keep your receipts. Your receipts are what is proof in the court of law that you've made your payment. So it's very important that you start building a folder, a file with evidence, information showing that you participated. Okay? And yes, when you're young, you're in love. You know, she would never do that to me. He would never do that to me. I'm telling you that they will. It has been done, and it will continue being done to you. Always keep your receipts. And I'm going to segue because I have a couple interesting anecdotes. One very familiar story. There are people out there who meet people who that is what the goal is. So I knew someone personally who had 6 children by 6 different men. And the children were like stared up. They were like 2 or 3 years apart. Well, the first 3, I think, were a year apart. And then the rest of them were kind of like stagnated 2 years and another 2 years, another 2 years. So this person who I knew very well, I said, when I started finding out that she had 6 baby daddies, I said, what do you mean? She said, I would go and I would, meet another guy, and most of the guys I would meet were very successful. And once I knew that, it was my mission to do what I got to do to survive and take care of my family. So I want to let some of you guys know that this is a business. A business. People sit home and talk about how they're going to not only acquiesce your finances or a portion of your finances, but they're also going to figure out how to get pregnant or have a baby with someone who they know or have an idea that they'll make a good amount of money from the child support. So, which brings me to my second thing. The average child support payment made in the U.S. is $430. Now, whoever that is, you're a lucky guy, because most guys who are doing pretty well are up to about $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Some people even go to $10,000. There are people that are almost up to $25,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month in child support, because it is a substantial amount of your income. In fact, about 30% of all the custodial parents never receive 1% of the child support legally due to them, even if they have court order for child support. So although you might be paying in, a lot of times those people that you have supported or you paying, they're not getting all that because, they use the system, they use different things. Everything has to be paid for. So it's very important for you guys to think about this, especially when you're young. So I brought that anecdote up, as I said earlier. I met the family, when all the kids were a little bit older. And, so child support, just like it starts to stop. Especially if the child chooses not to go to college or however, the relationship begins to sever. The next thing is, that money starts to dwindle. And so I've seen cases, and I've met people in cases where the children were actually put out the house once the payment stops. And we're going to get into that a little bit more about the children that are affected by these games that are being played, child support and divorce drama, all these things, and using the children against the spouse. All these things come back to you. So as much as you might not think about it at the time, you're angry, you're hurt, these things are going to come back. You are going to deal with that child that one day will look up at you and listen to words that you're saying that sound like you're using them to get back at whoever's paying. And so that person is also a human being. That person, when they get 18 and 19, sometimes 16 and 17, they start finding out what's really going on. They start finding that they're nothing but a weapon to you. That there's something that you think it's okay to use and throw in hospitals and allow to stay back, thinking you're going to get an extra year in child support, or however the game is that some of these people play. And let's just say it out loud. Yes, there are some games being played with child support. Lots of them. And guys, I want you guys, if you're listening at the sound of my voice, or the 15% of women who are paying child support in this country, especially the state, if you are listening and you have a story to tell, or you want to help another young man or another young female, please pick up the phone, give us a call. Numbers listed on my website. You can also DM me at promo@thecounselor.live, or you can call in. There is a number that you can call right in and get right through. All right, we're going to keep on going. Child support money is completely tax-free income for the recipient, but it is not tax deductible for the person paying child support. Interesting, huh? It's not. Child support and visitation rights are two distinct and different legal matters. So, yes, you might have to be paying child support, whether you're separated, divorced, or whatever, but you also have to obtain visitation rights. And I got quite a few stories, but I would like to listen to some of the things that some of you guys have to say, or you females included. Give us a call. Child support is not dischargeable by bankruptcy. Even if you are dead broke, deep in debt, or out of work, a bankruptcy judge cannot wipe out due or overdue child support. So, I began to ask questions why. And let's just say that, where does this all start? And I don't know everything, and I'm not a child support attorney, but I do know that when you sign the birth certificate as father or as mother, you are signing a contract with the state saying that you're taking full and sole responsibility for that child. What does that mean? Well, that means that that's how they can put you in jail. That's how that they can tax your paychecks, is because you signed a contract with the government. And so, when the nurse comes up to you and says, "Oh, daddy, here's the baby. Oh, by the way, won't you please go ahead and sign on dotted line that you are the father?" You better make sure you know what you're signing. This is where it originates. Now, yes, some guys have gotten away with not paying child support. They get up, they leave the state. Some places you're not forced by the courts. No one can force you into the courthouse to do a DNA test, a drug test. There are people that got away with this. But yes, have the government figured this out? Of course they have. Okay? So the whole thought process behind this, okay, is to know what you're getting into when you're getting into it. Now, are there some extenuating situations? Yes. I was at a party, I passed out, I woke up, and the girl was on top of me, and boom, all of a sudden she calls me 2 weeks later, she's pregnant. Okay, that's an extenuating situation. But more importantly, guys, we know what we're doing when we're doing it. And yes, it might be feeling good in the beginning, but it won't be feeling good after 15, 20 years in when you still dropping, we'll just say, the average amount, which is $430. But I don't think I know anybody who's paid that little. And this thing comes directly out of your paycheck. So what am I saying? What is the counselor saying? Well, why don't you guys tell me? I'm going to motivate you to pick up that phone, go to my DMs, give me a call. Tell me what you think this means and why it's important to start having this conversation. There are quite a lot of guys that are angry at this point. They're upset because their lives have been completely destroyed. Sometimes, we make a lot of mistakes. We make a lot of decisions that are life-changing when we're younger. And that's part of where this counselor show came from, the inception. There are reasons why we're in the situation we're in because we make decisions when we are younger. And part of this show, part of the reason why this show exists is because, is it too late to change them? Yes. But is it too late to revisit why you made that decision? Is it too late to revisit what happened? Go back over the circumstances. And, we're going to be talking about the cure of addiction. That's coming up. And that's part of the cure of addiction is going back to the origin. I was at a party. I was hanging out with a couple of friends, and they handed me this pill, crushed it up, and gave me a straw and said, "Yeah, just sniff it up your nose." And I wasn't thinking anything about it. And 30 years later, I'm shooting dope every day. From a one quick decision at a certain age, and it's usually 14, 15, and 16. Has that just dictated and narrated the rest of your life? No, but it has in so many people's minds because guess what? You start getting used to doing these things early, having sex with random people, not using protection. What do you think is going to happen when you don't use protection, young guys? Your sperm is going to swim, and the younger you are, the faster they go. And so it's going to get to that egg as fast as possible. Boom. Baby has appeared out of nowhere at 15, at 16, at 17. Then, of course, the pride kicks in. And I'm talking to the 85% of guys and 15% of women. The pride kicks in. You don't want to realize that you made a mistake. You want to make decisions that's going to correct that. What you want to do is just stand up and say, "Oh, I'm fine. I got a seed. I'm going to take care of that seed. I'm going to do this, what I can do, for my kid. I'm responsible. I'm going to work a part-time job." No, your whole entire life has changed. Completely. You are no longer by yourself. You now have another human being that needs to be taken care of and did not ask to get here. Hence, child support. Child support orders can always be modified by the court. Guys, I want you to listen. Many of you just want to leave it alone. No, you don't have to leave it alone. Once again, pride. Pride has kicked in. I've seen guys, a lot of guys, that I worked with in several different types of fields of work showed me their paycheck $1.85. I said, how are you supposed to live off that? I don't know, bro. I've seen guys with $10 paychecks. I've seen guys that literally quit their job and would rather clean up on the side of the road or go to jail before they just bring home 10 or 20 bucks a month, a week. All right? These things happen. But again, we make these decisions when we're young. You know, the older ones don't want to educate the younger ones. They want the younger ones to go through what they went through it because they went through it. That's a long time. 18 years is a long time for child support to be being debited from your paycheck. So what are you saying, Mr. Counselor? What I'm saying is I want some of you dads to start talking to your sons early, 14, 15, 13. Let them know, I know you see me responsible and going to work and taking care of you, but I want you to know the consequences for your actions. And part of consequence for child support, if you do not pay, especially in a lot of states, is that it just continues to go up more and more in arrears. And a lot of it is because you guys don't want to get up and go do the hard part, refile some paperwork. You're not making $80 an hour like you were 2 years ago. You're not making whatever amount. That doesn't change until you go file the proper documents at the courthouse to go see a judge and modify your payments. Once again, pride. A lot of pride has to do with child support. A lot of it. A lot. And we're going to go into that a little bit more as we talk to some of the people this week that are scheduled. Some people have literally paid child support for children that were not theirs. We have a young man who been paying child support for the last 10 years to turn around and find out that that child was not his. Now, first of all, you know, I'm not a doctor or a biologist, but the child is light-skinned with curly hair and you're dark-skinned black, and the mom is dark-skinned black. I don't think that's your kid, bro. But we'll talk about that later. So, yes, there are people who have paid. Now, do you get that money back? That's a good question. But you know what he says? Well, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do that to her. Pride. All right, so we're going to talk about that. A parent who is unemployed or has a reduction in income is still required to pay all court-ordered child support unless that parent has received a court-approved or whatever notice that is going to be reduced. Which goes back to my other point. If you don't pick up the phone and call an attorney, or pick up the phone and call a counselor, get some advice, or we'll connect you with someone to get some advice, you're going to still be doing the same things that you've been doing. All right? Putting yourself more and more into more debt when this thing is debt to income. This thing should not be as hard on some of you guys as has been, and the 15% of women who are also paying this country. These are stats I get from the state. Okay? This is serious. You guys got to start getting up and doing something to help yourself. And finally, failure to pay child support can lead to a serious consequence, including wage garnishments, asset seizure, credit bureau reporting, driver's license expenses, suspension, passport denial, withholding of unemployment benefits, not receiving your income tax return, and we can go on and on and on. So I would like for some of you guys to pick up the phone, give us a call. If not for yourself, talk to the young man, the young listening. I looked at my listener demographics. I went from 40-year-old women to 18 to 24-year-old young people. 90% of the people listening. We want you guys to pick up the phone and talk to us. This is the counselor. And if you want, we can connect right away. The number's on my website. You can also email me at promo at thecounselor.live, or you can slide up in my DMs. The Counselor. The Counselor. All right, and we are back. Welcome back, everyone, to thecounselor.live, and I'm your host, Sheldon Stovall. We're talking about child support. We're talking to men right now, and this is not sexist, but most of the guys that have contacted and have responded, or the people rather, are males. So we're going to be talking to a few guys this week, just kind of break it down for us and let us know exactly what they've been going through. We got a few guys been paying child support for years. We have some new guys, and I'm hoping that some of you guys that are 18, 19, submit some questions, pick up the phone and call and learn, because this thing is real. 18 years is a long time. All right, so we want to pick up where we left off. We do have some callers here shortly. What are the factors in determining child support? And some of these questions have been just hitting our DMs, so I'm just going to give you some information that I found. Other factors often taken into consideration would include support obligations for children from other relationships. So if you have met a gentleman or a female who have had prior relationships and have children in other relationships, that could be a factor. That could be a determining factor when it comes to your relationship, getting married. Either party would have to accept that there are prior obligations. So it's very important, even some of you younger people that are listening, and I'm glad you guys are, because you're getting the information straightforward from the counselor. All right, you're listening. Yes, you are prime meat. Okay, at your age, you are prime meat. You are a prime target. And we talked about in our last segment, there are young ladies out there, there are young men who sit at home and plot and figure out how they can meet someone who's going to pay them 18 years of income every week. What do these plots consist of? All right, so I'm just going to give you some of the things I've heard as a counselor. So some of the plots consist of, meeting at the club. At 21, you underage. Dressed to the nines, spanked all up. And I'm talking about some of these females. Got Spanx on, 2, 3, making sure those curves are cut all the way deep. They can't even breathe, okay? Dancing, barely moving, and they catch your eye. All of a sudden you look at, look at that. Oh, yeah. You're prime meat, you're prime target. Okay, so we're in the club. You're having a good time. All dance music is going, you know what I'm saying? You rocking. All of a sudden they're playing your song. Ooh, everybody start really want to grind, especially towards the end of the night at the club when they start playing that grinding music. Some people listen to the Jamaican music, that they start grinding with that. Everybody's twerking now. So everything, all that attention, all that sexual energy is starting to flare up. And Mr. Prime Target, I'm talking to you, got them old green eyes and them juicy red lips and all them tight shirts. You've been going to the gym all week, all year, all winter. You went to the gym, got a 12-pack. Yeah, I'm talking to you, prime meat. Okay, you're a target. All right? Oh, them curly hair. Oh, he's tall. He's 6'2". Ooh. Okay, all these things come into play when you're being targeted at 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. You are being targeted, because especially if you have a job and you get them to go to work every day, you're the number one. You have just made it. You are filet mignon. Or some people say filet mignette. Okay? You are Cristal versus Dominique Champagne. All right? I'm talking to you now. You're prime meat. So what do? Do you not just talk to girls anymore? You tell me. Pick up the phone. Give us a call. Tell us what you think. Yes, you're prime. You're a target. Okay? You got a brand new car. All right? You're only 21. You're driving a 2022. Come on. Yes, you are the main attraction. Your TikTok's blowing up. You got 1,000 views, or you got 10,000 or 20,000 views. Your girl shorties is hitting you up every time you walk in the door, out of the door. You ever hang out with some of those guys? You know what I'm saying? After the club, oh yeah, I got this girl's number, that girl. You got about 25 numbers, bro. What you gonna do with all 25 numbers? Yep, we know you're gonna meet every last one of them. And out of 25, how many children do you think you're going to produce that night? Or sometime during that timeline? Once again, you are prime meat. You're being targeted. All right? I have been around when I have heard young ladies sitting down talking of how they trapped that man, of how they got pregnant. I have lived in Los Angeles, where a lot of these things don't hit the papers, where a lot of these groupies, a lot of these females who meet these basketball players right before they get drafted, or while they're in draft, or after they've been picked. Okay, I mean, all types of things. Swallow it and put it in the condom, spit it out in the condom, jump off and run in the bathroom quick and spit it in something. That way you have, you know what I'm saying, what you need. All it takes is one to swim. I'm sorry I'm saying this, but it's the truth. This thing goes down, not just basketball players, football players, baseball players, not even athletes, entrepreneurs, actors. I'm talking to you, reality stars. Well, we're not going to talk about reality stars. I lived in Hollywood for quite a while. I'm telling you ever heard that terminology, famous and broke? Where do you think it came from? So even some people that think that, they think you got money. This is just not females. I'm saying for the most part, because it's only 15% of women. So there's a target. Okay, there's a plan. Somebody knows that this has been going on for a long time, young men. And yes, you might, if you don't have a father or you didn't grow up with a father, you might have met an honorable guy that has paid all 22 years of child support. And I didn't complain once. Okay, you might have met that person. But the truth of the matter is that this is a decision that you made or was made for you and you don't know about it when you were young. And because some of our OGs and people like that don't turn around and recontribute back to our community, it's a cycle that continues and continues and continues. But what we want to do, especially as the counselor, is we want to start educating our young, and we want to encourage some of you guys who have been through this situation to get up and go to the boys club, go out to some of these meetings and start encouraging younger guys. Talk to them, teach them, help them understand, yes, it's honorable, but you could put a stop to it before it begins. And one thing I'm going to mention, it might be on the screen by now, use a condom, wrap it up, wear two. And don't ever let that condom leave your sight. Okay? Because all it takes is one puncture of a hole, and those babies are leaking out. Like I said, you're young, them things are flying. All right, so there's things that can happen. All right, young guys. All right, so I want to get the next point out, which was cool. What is the true meaning of child support? Now listen to this. In family law, the term child support refers to the regular payments made to one parent by the other for the financial benefit of the child. Child support is often written into the divorce decree or the child custody or the visitation order. That's what it's usually designed for. Married people who have separated, on the breadwinner often would be the one and would want the person who's not the breadwinner to stay home, get the kids to soccer practice, get to school every day, the soccer mom way of life. That person has used their time. They're sacrificing their time. They're not out working or making money for the family. So, okay, that person's lifestyle should not reduce because that relationship has severed. So that person who's getting their hair done and nails done and, and enjoying their life, or the person who goes to the spa and gets regular haircuts and, gets his suits tailor made, that person, if they're not the breadwinner but taking care of the family, has just as equal right to maintain their lifestyles. Say that the relationship severed. I don't know how these determinations are made these days when people are together for 2 months, somebody got pregnant, and all of a sudden I'm getting you for child support. Everybody knows in the family. They already have your social security number. They already know how they're going to get you, and they're having you served while at your job that you just got a promotion at. So I want you guys to start thinking. Having children with someone you don't know, you have no idea what you're asking for the next 18 years of your life. And children of parents who are taking advantage of people, targeting people and having children by them, those children grow up and become very angry too. And so some of you women, some of you guys are using your children against their wives or ex-wives, and women using that child against that man. I want you to know that child is listening and seeing everything that you are doing. And just how your mind is cunning and manipulative and, I'm going to get him for this. I'm going to take, I just heard he's got another job. That child is listening to you. And at some point when that child wakes up, their eyes open up and their ears begin to hear the truth about who you really are and what you have done to ascertain the money that you have. Do you think that child's going to give you some dap? Oh, homie, you beat. I can't wait to be like you. No, that child is coming back at you at a vengeance. And so I want some of you, even planners, those of you who are doing the targeting, I want you to think about consequence. Yes, at that time, your mama kicking you out when you turned 18. You don't want to work. You never had a job. You don't know what you're going to do. Oh, why don't I meet some guy that can take care of me and my kid? All those things, even you're young, making these decisions that are going to affect you for the rest of your life. I want you young people to start thinking. Because these things are happening fast. You guys are growing up and becoming adults fast. Some of you have never even left the city that you live in, because as soon as you didn't graduate from high school and was supposed to, because you got your girlfriend pregnant, and you wanted to be a responsible man and take care of the family, and now you're angry and drinking every day. Hint, hint. Getting high, not wanting to deal with it, fighting, arguing, not coming home. There are reasons. Because you made these decisions when you were young. Okay? I got another comment I wanted to mention. Is child support a bad thing? All right, I'm going to let some of you guys answer that. I want you to please give me a call. You can go to my website, thecounselor.live. You can also email us at the promo. It's called promo at thecounselor.live. I want to hear from you. I would not look at child support as a good thing or a bad thing. It is a necessity. Children are not inexpensive. If two people bring a child into this world, it is the responsibility of both of the individuals to support and raise that child. If not together, then apart to the best of their abilities. And we call it co-parenting, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. We do have a couple that have a success story for co-parenting, and we have a couple that has a horror story for co-parenting. So stay with us on that. But more importantly, yes, it can be a bad thing if you're using it as a weapon against the other individual. When you are that person is trying to get remarried and has worked hard to get a promotion and build their life for their new family, and you make sure that you spying and asking the child, ask daddy where you're working at, ask mommy where's her new job, and sending these children to get all these subliminal messages that even the children aren't understanding why. When these things start going on, I want you to start looking in the mirror at yourself. This is not the 18-year-old that met the 19-year-old in the club and both of you guys were drinking that night and it was a mistake. And now he's paying for the mistake and so are you. Okay? These things need to be more thought and talked about. And not, I'll get a job working at Walmart and you can work your cash register job and we could try to build a house together and, I'll go to trade school. Those things are beautiful. And I'm not saying that a lot of these relationships that end up like that do not help people grow up. But what I'm saying is some people grow up really fast from a mistake or a thought or an idea that wasn't discussed by a grown adult with a full frontal lobe development. And most of our frontal lobes do not fully develop until we're about 25, 26. So as much as you think you're grown and you're 6'4" and you know how to speak and you know how to say curse words and you can fight and punch people and break things and rent things and own things and buy things, you can do all that. You're not fully developed. You still need some advice. You don't know everything and you were not born knowing everything. So at some point in time in life, you have to make a good decision. And that decision is before you decide to procreate, before you decide to have any children, before you even want to begin having intercourse, get some education. Learn what could happen for the next 18 years. All right, guys, more to come. Thank you for watching The Counselor, and I am your host, Sheldon Stovall, and you can always contact me. Promo at thecounselor.live. We are taking calls this week. Talk to you in a minute. The Counselor. The Counselor. All right. Hello, and we are back. Welcome back to The Counselor. And I am your host, Sheldon Stovall. So we're talking about child support. And why is this man smiling about child support? Well, my kids are way old enough now, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. All right, but today we have a couple of callers. One caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, welcome to the show. So we're getting to you right in a moment. So just wanted to kind of just recap a little bit. We've been going over some new facts as of 2022. With people who are probably paying child support for years. And we just kind of been giving you some pointers and some updates on what you need to know and some of the things that we're too lazy to do as men and as women that are paying child support, like refiling and making sure that things are okay. All right, so before we get to the caller, I have two questions I need to quickly answer. One of them was, how much allowance should I give my child? So, how much you should give your child is up to you. Now, I'm going to read you what Levine recommends, who's a writer. So, how much are you allowed to give? Levine recommends 50 cents to $1 for every year of age. So, on a weekly basis, for example, a 10-year-old will receive $5 to $10 per week. So, as your child grows, so should his responsibility for his own or her own discretionary spending. So this probably was written back in, I'll say 1850, because sneakers are $225 right now for school. And that's just the sneakers. So, we're going to, at your discretion, because you are a single parent. So it's important that, yes, you start teaching your child young to be responsible and start learning the value of money if they're missing a custodial parent. But more importantly, if you are going to be giving your child, track it for a couple weeks, see what they're doing, and then that way use it as a teaching moment. All right. You're going to hear that a lot from us counselors. We always say that this is a teaching moment. All right. So the other question is, how much jail time do I get for child support? All right. So if you do not pay your child support frequently, though you might receive a felony charge on your record, if this happens, you can spend time in jail. Now, how much jail time do you get for non-payment of child support? Child support jail sentences will make you serve less than 6 months, but some convictions can be up to 2 years. So, as there was a famous child support song about child support in the 90s, pay your child support, pay your child support. And if you're not paying it, as we mentioned the other day, it is not going to get any better. All right, so caller, I saw the email. You mentioned that you watched the show, so we appreciate it, and you subscribed. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
We wanted to see, kind of find out what you want to kind of tell us. I know that you said you have a story about it, so can you please share with us what you wanted to say?
Okay. First of all, I really enjoy your show.
Thank you.
And I feel that it's very informative and there's a lot of information that people out there need.
Thank you.
But I was a little bit appalled at the first installment of the child support program because the money amounts that you threw out there seem to be ridiculous to me.
All right.
Even the minimum of $430.
Okay.
Now, I myself have 2 children, and I actually got to go to court with their father when I still had just the one. And what I told the judge was because he, works under the table and, does odd jobs and whatnot, I don't think it's unreasonable for me to get $50 a week. Right? So I did actually get the judgment on paper. And fast forward almost 10 years, I have received about $100 in 10 years.
Oh my.
And I believe he's tried to go get the support order lower than $200. Now that was for one child. And after that, he fathered another child with me.
Okay.
So, and that was one thing that I can't even believe that women are receiving so much money. And then the other thing that was like personally offensive to me was that there actually exists women that make a business out of this.
Correct.
That's prostitution.
Oh.
Okay. Listen, first of all, the expenses involved in having a child when it comes to like just going in the hospital having a child is about $10,000.
It's true.
Right?
That is
and
true.
And you factor in a lifetime of clothing, food, support, medical costs, college education. If you think this is a way to get over, you're an idiot. It don't even make no sense for somebody to be cranking out babies like a puppy mill. It's like, what? And kicking the kid out when they turn 18?
Yes.
I mean, you have to be some kind of stone cold, heartless bee to put your kid out because the money dried up.
Say it. Yes.
It doesn't even add up.
It doesn't.
For somebody to think that this is a viable form of employment.
It's the truth.
And
what would you say to these women who are doing this, though? Because these people don't get addressed because they already have the advantage. According to some of my clients, some of the guys that we talk to in groups, what would you say to them? Because to them, they have an advantage right now.
Listen, I would tell these girls they need Jesus because what they're doing is ridiculous. First of all, you sitting up here having unprotected sex with these dudes.
Yes.
And there's no standing commitment, obviously, because they just trying to catch a victim.
Yep.
So they purposely haven't. You can catch something you can't get rid of that ain't a kid.
That's right.
It just, come on, go to college, get a job.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I started off shady. I'm not even gonna lie to you. When I first got involved with my kid's father, I was a hustler. Okay. And I felt that in my ego, because I had a stream of income that was seemingly limitless at the time, that, you know what I'm saying, I could have a kid and take care of a kid, and, you know, it's like, you know, whatever. Later on, as I came to Christ, and obviously that sort of income was no longer an option for me, I got to feel the repercussions of my silly choices.
Okay.
And I had to really go to God in prayer and say, I'm sorry that I didn't do it your way. Okay. Because this is not cool, you know? And there's some other stuff, but I was on public assistance as well. And there's actually, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's actually some loopholes.
Okay.
Like the worst type of men.
Ooh.
Because if you're involved with DTA, they pretty much is standard that you're supposed to get child support from the father. But if this man is domestically violent, or if this man has hit you, you know, verbally abused you, maybe even sexually assaulted you or something like that, there's actually a paper that you can sign to exempt from going after them for child support.
Wow. Because it could be dangerous for you, is what you're saying.
Because supposedly it's dangerous for you. Okay. But here's the thing. The child still has needs, no matter what quality of man they came from. So just the fact that there's a loophole for people that don't even deserve it.
Correct.
It's just, it's offensive to me.
It really is. So yes, and I want to interrupt you because I want to hear more. Now let's talk about the $50 a week.
Okay.
So when I mentioned the $450 minimum, I mean that's just, you know, with a large scale. Like there's a huge ratio. You know, I know people personally who are paying way more than that, like thousands a week, you know, for their children from former relationships. So, you know, when I hear someone saying that they're barely getting $50 a week, how does that help you?
It doesn't. I only got $50 twice in 10 years.
Wow.
Because apparently he worked at some kind of a day labor that involved his social security number, so they garnished what they could.
Of course.
And maybe they took more, but I never saw it.
Did you? Well, you also mentioned that you had public assistance. And so regardless of sometimes how much he's paying, you're just going to get that amount that's stipulated to you.
Because they require that anything that they pay out to the mother is paid back by the father.
Correct.
So the government doesn't lose.
Correct. At all. They're going to get it one way or the other.
Exactly.
Correct. So what has that done for you, though? Like, did that, if you're talking to a young lady who's kind of going through the same thing, $50 a week, I mean, come on, that's nothing. Minus their allowance that you give them according to Levine. $50 a week, you know, what would that do for you? And
a pair of shoes, maybe?
Huh.
Yeah. Well, maybe like not them $225 sneakers, definitely not. But you know what? God's always blessed my kids so that stuff comes from north, south, east, and west.
Nice.
When my son was not even born yet, this lady presented me with like 30 pairs of baby shoes, like Nikes and all kind of stuff. And that was amazing.
Nice.
But that doesn't happen to everybody.
Correct.
You know? So I would tell these young women out here, listen, you got to be more discerning in your choices and stuff. Like when I was hearing about these women, you know, making business out of this and stuff, I'm like, well, golly gee, I did this the wrong way. I'm thinking, you got to fall in love with somebody. And in the course of expressing that love, even if it's with the wrong person, babies come about. And these ladies are going out and planning to do it.
You went the old direction.
Bananas.
You went the old way. This is 2022 now.
Right.
That doesn't go on anymore.
It's crazy. It's
It
crazy
is.
because no, that's not God's order, first of all.
Amen.
And even if you ain't thinking about God, that's just not smart.
It's not. Ultimately.
It's not, because then you stuck with a responsibility, you know what I'm saying? And it's unfortunately mostly minorities.
Okay.
You know, Hispanic people of color.
Yes.
That end up in these fatherless households. It's
Correct.
a perpetual cycle, and
Correct.
the sons don't know how to be a man because nobody taught them.
Correct.
You can't listen. I have issue with people that say I was the mother and the father. No, sister girl, you can be the best mom in the whole wide world, but you can't be the father.
Ooh.
You can't even teach your son how to pee standing up. So for you to say you're the mother and the father, no, you can't be, no matter how hard you try.
Correct.
But you know what? If you look in the right places, God will put good examples of upstanding men in your children's path so that they know what kind of man they want to be.
That's right.
You know?
I agree.
There's when I was asked by a therapy place what kind of counselor I wanted for my sons, I said, "Oh, black man."
Ooh. Okay.
I said, because nobody's going to be able to give them that experience but another black man. My sons can't identify with a Caucasian man.
Okay.
So I need somebody that's going to give them the realness of being a black man in America.
Uh-oh. So then when you seen the black man as a counselor on TV, is that the first thought that popped in your head?
And it was unfortunate that I had, you know, I mean, that's why I think it's important what you're doing, you know, out here reaching people.
Thank you. Yes.
Because what the first thing this agency told me was, we don't have any.
That's right.
We don't have any black men counselors.
You're absolutely right.
Where are the black men counselors?
So I'm going to say this to you. When I was in college, starting in my undergrad, I was the only African American man in my classes, all of them.
Wow.
One other brother came in probably like the second semester I was there, and I was, oh, great, somebody else is in here. He's like, yeah, I'm leaving, I'm dropping this. And guess what his reason why was? His reason behind it. It was too many papers to write. So, yeah. And so it was sad because he left. But yes, so from the moment I walked into undergrad, which I got my bachelor's, and then I went to graduate studies, there was no other black men in my classes. Yes, except for my last year. Yes. It is. It's really difficult. And I would encourage more black men, ethnic men, Hispanic men, Asian men. Culturally, you're needed. You're absolutely right, caller. Culturally, we're needed. It's very hard for a child of color to listen to someone, even though he might be a man, but, not recognizing, or being familiar with that person. That could be difficult to listen to. So, because the child may not know if you understand them. But for the record, we do take what we call culture diversity courses. So we do, all of us kind of get a good understanding of cultures in general. Nice. So thank you for that. So another thing, quickly, you brought up about being a business prostitution. So that didn't really come across my mind, so I had to kind of write that down. Do you think it is prostitution? And if it is, why is the courts, is our court systems so overwhelmed and overloaded that they're not taking the time to consider this?
I think there's not really per se something you can do other than, what could you do? Forcibly sterilize somebody? It's such an intimate, personal thing to have a child.
Correct.
And how can you go forth in there and try to mandate or try to mitigate these women that are making these erroneous choices?
Correct.
It's a very tricky place.
It really is.
I heard of once upon a time, I heard of a program that was offering women that were hooked on crack cocaine a dollar amount to have themselves voluntarily operated on to not have any more crack babies.
Wow.
And a lot of women actually did do it because they wanted to get more drugs, and $400 or $500 sounded like a mint.
That's money right there.
You know.
And as a former hustler, you would know that.
When these women are thinking about, they got dollar signs and stars in their eyes, and they thinking about 18 years worth of income. I mean, their mental health needs to be addressed.
Correct.
Because something's got to be wrong with you mentally when your aspiration is to sit here and be a perpetual baby mama.
Correct.
That's sick.
It really is.
Your aspiration should be to be a woman with a career.
Amen. You're right.
Life,
You're right.
You know, and a person making social change in your community for the better. Not to just crank out a bunch of kids. And then if it's all about the money, these children are not receiving the emotional nourishment that they need.
Correct.
Because they're basically a pawn in some sick game in order for them to profit from.
Amen.
So
you're right.
Profiting off of somebody's life.
Correct. And so I'm going to ask you, I need to take a quick break in a moment. But I would like you to stay with me for another segment because, so you're hitting on something. This is why this show is here. This is why I am being present at the moment. Because these things need to be addressed. It's been going on far too long. Okay? It's a cycle that's continuing over and over and over again. And as I mentioned earlier in my segment, the older are not teaching the young. You know, they suffered, and so they're going to allow us to suffer the same fate. So we're going to be right back. We're going to stay with the call. If you don't mind, stay with me. I want you guys to, as the caller did today, reach out. This is a really super subject. We're going to be a few weeks on this. We're going to actually expand on dealing with child support. The title in the beginning was Men Targeted, but as I'm speaking with the callers and listening to my audience and with questions, it seems like there's quite a few mothers and single moms who need some help too, or need some advice, or need encouragement. So if I can, please give us a call. The number is listed below on the screen. It's scrolling through. You can give us a call. You can email me at promo@thecounselor.net. I'm sorry, promo@thecounselor.live, or you can slide up in my DMs. We'll be back. All right, and welcome back to The Counselor. And I am your host, Sheldon Stovall. And again, we're still with the caller. I asked her to stay for another segment because I think that what her message is very important. And it's more important that you guys take some time, pick up the phone, give us a call. Even if you don't want to tell your story, you can encourage someone else by giving us some advice or giving us some information because this is a real thing. These things are going on every day. So caller, what I wanted to mention, now you said that you had your first child. What was your age bracket?
I was, I'm trying to think right now.
Okay.
Late 20s.
Okay, so you started late 20s.
Yeah.
So were you planning to have a family with this person, or what was your thought about it? Like, where were you going? Like, you know, when you got pregnant, or?
I was very much in love with this man.
Okay.
So much that I felt like he hung the moon. Like, I was young, and he's actually about 20 years older than me.
Okay.
So maybe that was part of the dynamic. I figured that because he was older that he would have good sense.
Okay.
I was wrong on that assumption. But I want to go back a little bit and say I do have an older child before the two younger children.
Okay.
But that was from a different relationship, and that relationship was over.
How old were you with the older child?
I was 19.
Okay.
And then after that, it was a gap of about 9 years before I had the next child.
Okay.
So I desperately wanted to have a son.
Mm-hmm.
Because I already had a daughter, and I figured, okay, we're going to complete the pair, one of each, and then I'm done.
Now, was that a unified a decision, or was that just something in your head that you wanted to do?
We discussed this.
Okay, good.
Together.
Okay.
It's just that because this particular person was a malignant narcissist,
Ooh.
so he told me everything that I wanted to hear.
Okay.
He told me he loved me. He told me I was beautiful. He told me all those wonderful things that women want to hear that just, eats up their mind or whatever, their good sense. And he told me that he wasn't seeing anyone else. I was the only one. Um, so it came to a point where I said, we were already very sexually active, and I said, I want to have a son, and you're going to be the one to give him to me.
Okay.
I want him to have your eyes, your features, your this, your that, your strength, because he's a military man, so he had a particular kind of DNA that I was interested in, a warrior.
Okay.
I felt